in fear of losing the person that I loved more than anything, that's when I really decided that I was going to make a permanent change in my life. Humans hate the unknown. We fear it. You can have a business relationship and develop a friendship out of that based on mutual respect and, working with each other and building something, what you want to pursue. And for most people, that's a function of time. And if you have to trade time for money, meaning you work for somebody 40, 60 hours a week, the amount of freedom you have to do the things you really want to do.
Thank you very much, Sean, for coming to my podcast. I'll get right into it so we don't hold on. I would like just to start with opening a question for you, and then we'll see where we're going to get there from. But I was doing a little bit of research on you, but apart of watching let's just start by just basically watching Karate Kid 3 in the past. I've seen the movie, right? And I've seen a lot of other movies, but then I was actually doing a little bit of research, and then you mentioned in one of the stories online that you actually had a big accident and you had to go to the hospital, and you had that decision to make when you were 22 to go back to the set and do something about it, or actually don't do it and maybe waste your life, or maybe you would find a different way to do it. But you actually took that decision and you went back to the set, even though it was very challenging. And majority of the people, because I do a lot of business and things like that, majority of the people wouldn't make that decision. They would give up. They wouldn't do it. So how were you able to do it in kind of such a young age? Mindset is not maybe as strong as you are now. How was it possible that you went back even after that such a difficult injury and you overcome that challenge?
So I got that role from an open call, which means I stood in line with thousands of people and was picked out of that line by John Avildsen, who had won the Academy Award in 1976 for Rocky. He had directed The Karate Kid. And, the chances of getting a role that way are infinitesimal. I mean, it's really like winning the lottery. And I realized that this role was something that was not only going to change my career, but going to change the trajectory of my life. And there was nothing that was going to keep me from not finishing this. And, I got a call from John Avildsen very shortly after I had come out of surgery. I had a 15-inch wound on my abdomen closed with surgical staples. And basically, there were no balloons, there were no flowers. I was just told, get back to work in 2 weeks, or we're going to have to fire you and recast. And I got really angry, I was pissed off. And that anger soon fomented and became my why for why I was not going to allow circumstance to take this away from me. And it fueled me. It fueled my drive to get out of bed and make my way around the hospital floor one time, and then 3 times, and then 5 times. And then I had them, the doctors, discharge me against medical advice. And I recuperated for about a week and a half. And then I started doing what I could to rehabilitate myself. And long story short, I wound up returning to set, doing all my own stunts. And it's made a profound difference in my life.
Perfect. Awesome. Thank you very much. So would you say that, we are usually driven by both forces, but some people are driven more by pain and some people more driven towards the pleasure. Would you say that you are driven more by the pain of losing out, or if not, it's going to happen? Because it seems like this situation was definitely the pain, which was what the driving force.
I get the whole concept of the carrot and the stick, and I don't disagree with that. I think that when you distill it down even further, what the carrot and the stick really are the two guiding forces that can bring about change in human behavior, and that's love and fear. And I loved the fact that I had gotten this amazing opportunity, and I feared the possibility of losing it. And I think also on a deeper level, I probably had some fear of whether or not I had the internal fortitude to come back from this. It was a very defining moment in my young life. And, it's like the Robert Frost poem, 2 paths diverged into the woods. I took the one less traveled and it made all the difference. 2 roads, not 2 paths. And I think there was a part of me that was like, I knew intuitively that if I didn't fight to overcome this, I would regret it for the rest of my life.
Okay, perfect. And then I was watching you to speak online on some video, and then you mentioned that I've actually seen some other videos, but like you on the path, obviously you were 22, then on a 50 you had another breakthrough. It was like 9 years ago when you been on your birthday. You mentioned 2nd of November. I was just remembering because my two daughters are born in November, so I was just trying to see like how they are, and I'm like just trying to see like how you are, just to see some of the things of that kind of a nature of the of the people. And because my daughter is a very big fighter, so I'm like, okay, the other one is very small yet, so and I think it is not that visible yet. But then in the 50th, had a different realization. But I'm just thinking, before you had another realization, you've been in a kind of I don't know how to call it, like a bad stage, right? You said you've been overweight.
No, I had allowed my life to slip into mediocrity. From the outside, I probably looked like I was fairly successful, but I felt like a fraud. I mean, I was 40 pounds overweight. I was struggling with a pretty severe alcohol addiction and other demons.
Yes.
And I had an epiphany that I had to change the way I was living.
Yes. So you had the epiphany on 15. That's great. And then what do you think it happened in that trajectory to? Because there's a lot of people like that where they kind of in life they are starting to be more successful in that, but then they'll kind of lose the vision or something bigger to go towards, and then they, like you said, mediocrity, and then they are happy. Actually, they have money, they are having family and all everything good, and they are starting to look for short things, which is gonna change their state, which is alcohol, which is a lot of different things. But do you remember a moment? Was there any moment which triggered that, where you kind of lose that momentum, or?
Yeah. So about 5 years ago, my wife knew I was really struggling, and she said to me, "Listen, I love you, and I put everything into this relationship. Please tell me I didn't back the wrong horse." And it just hit me like a lightning bolt. And again, it goes back to what I said about two things cause changes in human behavior: fear and love. And I was in fear of losing the person that I loved more than anything. And that's when I really decided that I was going to make a permanent change in my life. And I stopped drinking, and it made a profound difference in my life. It was as if the clouds had parted, and all of the things that had seemed previously so difficult began to come to me effortlessly. They came to me because I did the work. I really got in touch with who I am at my core, I guess my most authentic self. And I think what you saw was my TEDx speech. And
I was checking that there.
And I talk about that, from the time we're young, we are pushed to become someone, to become something. And I postulate in that TEDx, and I believe it in life, maybe life is less about trying to become something, more about unbecoming. All of the things that have affected us and influenced who we are, many of which are not always positive, and that life is not so much about adding things, but it's about subtracting all the things that are not your authentic self. And once you get rid of those trappings and the artifice and the armor that we wear to protect ourselves, and you get in touch with who you really are, you move almost effortlessly through the universe. I know that might sound very new age woo, but that's been my experience.
Yeah, absolutely. I know you mentioned that because obviously you live in Hollywood for 35 years or something like that, and you mentioned that a lot of these people are there. It's a lot of pretending to be someone. Obviously, you are, like if you are an actor, it's very difficult because you are a star and then everybody knows you. So then you are, I don't know, I'm not in that world, but I can imagine agents wants you to like look and act somehow and all these things. So they are basically, like you said, like, putting all these layers on you, and then you said it's like they are. Maybe
yes, maybe so. I think I'm going back even further though. We've got the expectations of family. We've got the influences of society, especially now with social media and things like that. And I live in Hollywood, but my life is very normal. Most people who know me would describe me probably as pretty down to earth. I get the opportunity to do some interesting and extraordinary things, but my day to day life is very normal. What's important to me is being with my wife and my dog and going to work and doing a great job and producing films and writing and doing all of those things to the best of my ability and continuing to just live my life in a way that is full of abundance and appreciation and things don't get too complicated.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's one of the things that I love the most about being sober is I don't wake up and go, holy shit, what did I do last night? What did I say? And that causes complications. It doesn't mean that I don't have days that are challenging days. Sometimes I have shitty days, but I remain a meaningfully happy person because on the inside I am, and it's, external things don't really knock me off the path. And I think that's the secret to living a life of peace and happiness.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, two things like what you mentioned in here. The one thing is, I stopped drinking 3 years ago, and it wasn't drinking too much, but because of where I'm from, the country I ran from, that everybody was drinking around me, and it was like normal for me to be drinking. And then I moved to Scotland, and I still had this kind of a habit of that. And then it's taking the energy away, right? And then it was one day my kids were like, "Hey, let's play, let's do some running," and then I wasn't able to catch my breath, and I'm like, "Oh, what's going on?" And then I realized, like, okay, I'm drinking, like not getting crazy drunk, but I'm still drinking beers, and then my energy level's down, and I exercise all my life from all different sports, and one of them was karate, and then and I'm like, oh, something needs to change, and we are like you said about your wife, and I know you have a daughter, and it's like we do more for others than we would ever do for ourselves, right? So my daughters are my driving force and my wife. So that's why I just step up and do some changes. So obviously what you are saying, and it's not about chasing a lot of different things. It's about being happy in the moment right now, and it doesn't need to be like people can see it from outside. Yeah.
I for a long time I worried that if I stopped drinking, that somehow my life was going to be boring and I would be boring. And all these stories that we attach that are just complete crap. There's this great quote by Joseph Conrad. He says, "The treasure that you seek exists in the cave that you fear to enter." And for me, getting sober was that cave, and living a life of not drinking on the other side was the treasure, but it was unknown. And humans hate the unknown; we fear it, and so we create all of this drama in our heads about what it was. And once I got to the other side of the cave, I was like, "This is great. Why didn't I do this 25 years ago?" But better late than never.
Yeah, no, you are right, and it's great. I mean, I'd say like my dad is alcoholic since like he was 24. He's 67 now, and that's why my parents divorced and everything. And then this year, for some reason, I don't know what happened. There was one situation I know what happened, but suddenly he didn't have a drink since August, and now we have December. He couldn't be without drink for like 2 weeks, right? Wow. And now he found his new kind of a passion. He bought himself a motorbike, and now he starts going on the motorbike, like he's alone. And I'm like, okay, that's interesting. So we'll see where it's going to go. But it's good to hear you are saying like it's never late to change, because in my eyes, it was like, he'll probably never going to change. And we tried and it never worked. It needs to come from him, right? So it's very nice to hear that kind of happen.
I'm glad. I hope your dad is able to find a new and better way to live.
Absolutely. Yeah. And he's having so much potential. He's amazing. The only thing which is not great is that. The rest is absolutely great. You also mentioned in here one thing which I truly believe and live by, and that I heard firstly from Tony Robbins. I've done a lot of training with him. I love him. And then you said it in here. We can do whatever we want, but then there'll be this external world, and we have no control of that, whatever happens, but we can only focus on ourselves inside, right? The internal world. So when we, like you said, like if you come to peace to yourself and whatever you do, then whatever shit happens outside, you can handle it because you know how to handle yourself and you're not gonna go crazy, which a lot of people are not working on themselves. That's why obviously that's how I met you. You've been on a Mega Success with JT Fox and I've seen you speak and obviously I sent you a message and now here we are. No, I thank you.
Yeah,
And
it's hard. It's hard in life not to be reactive. You know what I
yeah,
mean? It's very, very difficult to
yeah,
control your emotions.
yeah,
And believe me, I'm not perfect.
yeah,
I'm not. But what what you start doing when you're sort of on the path is you observe yourself, and when you say, okay, I'm getting upset right now, and you become aware of it instead of just reacting, and then that little space of time between realizing that you are and thinking about it for a second instead of just reacting can make a huge difference because you start to be able to control your emotions instead of just letting them run away with you and can get you in a lot of trouble. It really can.
yeah, yeah, absolutely. Tony was always saying, leaders anticipate and losers react. And then he was sharing us a story that he was getting angry. People would come to him with situations in his business, and then he would just get crazy. What the fuck is going on? And he would just get crazy. So people stopped coming to him with these problems, and then they would only come to his problem when the problem was too big already. So he knew that he needs to change. So then he created this new kind of a little bit of conditioning himself. So every time that happened, so he was like, what the amazing idea coming to the table. He totally changed and he was conditioning himself to do something like that and then basically make fun of that. So then people have a laugh and they would be coming within these problems and they would solve up the problems right away. And it's working on ourselves, right? Because if we have that kind of thing, I had to split up with my business partner this week and it was very challenging after 5 years. I had to cut this because it was droning me down, the energy, and I had to make that decision to do it. But now, because I've done it, it was difficult. But now, I mean, like I feel like I can fly now. It's so much potential, but it's very difficult sometimes to break those relationship because it's a business relationship, but it's also family relationship. So
Yeah.
like, have you had any situations like that in your career where you had this same, like it was a business, but also family, and you had to deal with that somehow?
I haven't had it with family, but for the most part, I have found the times that I have tried to take a friendship and then spin it into some kind of a business relationship. It doesn't
Yeah.
go well. I believe that you can have a business relationship and develop a friendship out of that based on mutual respect and working with each other and building something. And it doesn't start out as a friendship. It starts out as a relationship of maybe mutual goals and necessity, and it becomes a friendship.
Yeah.
Generally speaking, I find it very difficult when you try and do something business oriented with friends. And um, I've made the mistake a couple times, and now I'm extremely leery because I don't want to lose the friendship. And my expectations in business are maybe different expectations than I would have with a certain friendship, and it causes issues.
Absolutely. Yeah, yeah. Like JT was obviously invited you to the Mega. He wrote a book this year. He wrote three, but the one he was speaking there in his chapter 3 about these relationships and business relationships and this. And it was like I think he created like there's I think 18 questions what you need to ask before you go to the business relationships. Very detailed questions, which I think it's super powerful because like then you anticipate something to happen from the other side and it doesn't happen and then you don't know how to go around it because you are friends or family and then you are like stuck and you're like what to do now, right?
Yeah, I agree with that because it becomes a marriage of sorts when you're in business with somebody.
Yeah.
And you're bound, and like you said, getting out of it is not always easy.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And what is it I mean, I know you played for us a trailer of your new movie. And so is that the newest thing what you are working on right now? Is there anything else you are working on you would like to share?
I actually was just hired to write another screenplay, so I'm working extensively on that. I'm still working on The Bold and the Beautiful, which I've been off and on that show since 2000. It's my 25th year right now.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, no, I probably got 5 or 6 different projects. My wife and I have a book that came out recently about relationships, and
Okay.
we're asked to speak all over the place with that. So
Mhm.
we've got lots and lots of exciting stuff going on. It's really been a blessing. When you kind of get out of your own way, you find that at least I found that I'm a lot more effective and I can do a lot more things.
Yeah.
And now I'm in a position where I can be a little more selective about the things that I do. And I think
Yes.
ultimately, again, when you distill it down, the reason most people, I think, most, not all, but most people want to become financially successful and successful in their careers is because you want freedom. You want the
Mhm.
ability to, money's really good for getting rid of a lot of problems, right?
Yeah.
Like life's, it's a lubricant. It makes day-to-day life easier. But really what you want is the freedom to decide what you want to pursue. And for most people, that's a function of time. And if you
Mhm.
have to trade time for money, meaning you work for somebody 40, 60 hours a week, the amount of freedom you have to do the things you really want to do is truncated. And so
Yeah.
that for me has been like the biggest gift that,
Yeah.
I'm now in a position where I'm able to say no to some things, yes to the things I really want to.
Mm. Yeah. Absolutely. So that's why I was very happy to hear that you say yes, you're gonna come to the podcast, even though you barely know me. So I was
No,
excited.
that's okay. First of all, I enjoy doing these because I often learn as much as I want to talk, and I love
Yeah.
to make a new connection, a new relationship. And it's amazing. I've done podcasts with people, and now I look back and I'm like, wow, I've known you for like 5 or 6 years, and
Yeah.
they've become friends.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Yeah. And the thing is, like I'm a big action taker, and I'm like, the worst thing, he'll say no.
absolutely,
And my life
absolutely,
will just go on. But now I can at least ask him because he was on the same event. He was there. Like,
absolutely.
why not? I have nothing to lose. I have only to
Yeah,
get to interview someone very interesting. And then if I can add some value to it, that is great. Obviously, I'll promote as much as I can.
I
And
completely
that's
agree.
always, and that's how it works. Good. And then you said you are working around 5, 6 different projects. You have a new book coming from your wife about relationships, obviously TV shows, your movie. How do you handle all these projects? How you kind of structure your week, or like do you have teams to help you? How do you do
So,
it?
so first of all, my wife is an incredibly capable and effective human being, and she has certain skill sets that are not my strengths. And
Mhm.
so we're able to delegate, and there's certain things that she does, there's certain things that I do. So it's a little bit like being able to clone myself, but have a much smarter clone in my wife. I do something I call the 100-minute makeover. To
Okay.
share it with you. So I'm a big fan of whiteboards, the whiteboards that you put.
I have one in the office, a big one, and today we were
Yeah.
working on that with my business partner. We've done so much on it today. We're a
So,
big one.
so, so what I do usually on a Sunday is I'll write down 5 tasks that I want to accomplish during the week. And then,
Mhm.
starting Monday, I'll work on each task for 20 minutes, giving 100% of my attention to it. And then at the end of 20 minutes, I go and, do something that I want to do. And then I'll start the second one. And by the end of the day, I've put 100 minutes into 5 different tasks, apart from all the other things that I do, go to the gym, go to work, blah.
Mhm.
And by the end of the week, I've put 100 minutes into 5 different tasks. And I find that it really is a way of skyrocketing my productivity. The thing about a whiteboard that I love is it's looking at you in the face all day long. And I don't like to see something that I know I need to do that I haven't crossed off. And it's the same if I
Yeah.
always have a legal pad with me with stuff written down. And I'm always doing things, scratching them out, writing new things, and making sure that I stay productive. I tend to get up pretty early, not ridiculous, but I get up 6:30, 7 in the
Mhm.
morning, and try and knock out a couple of those tasks before I even have to do anything else. And I guess I've learned to work smarter, not necessarily harder, although I probably do work harder. And the other thing is, it's like that old adage: if you do something you love, you'll never work a day in your life. And I love everything I do. And so I work hard, and I probably work 14 to 16-hour days, but I love it. It's stuff that I love doing. So it doesn't seem like it's a grind to me.
Yes. Yeah. Absolutely. That's why, like, you see, like, like sometimes when you see someone like they are young, why is he still working when he's rich? He's achieved everything. Why is he working? What else would you be doing? You need to have some passion to do something.
Yeah.
You should see the people who are kind of. That's the problem of being employed, because you're gonna go to pension, you're 65, 67, whatever, and then because it's not their passion, they did it because they went make a living.
Yeah.
So unless they found a different purpose and different meaning in life, then suddenly their health, their mission, everything just going down. And that's why they are kind of slowly dying, because they have nothing else to do. But that's why when you are an entrepreneur, business owner, or doing different things, and obviously and you have passion for that, and you obviously have to become a great entrepreneur in what I hear in that. I've been first time in LA for some event like that. I hear a lot of people, it's like, if you want to really be successful in Hollywood, you need to really become a business person and entrepreneur, because it's not
very
easy.
Very smart what you're saying. When young actors ask me for some form of advice, one of the things I always tell them is you must learn to think like a business person. You must learn to think like a producer. It's called show business.
Yes,
And those people that say, well, I don't want to get involved in the business, it'll taint my art and all that. That's bullshit. Every actor should be able to think like a business person, in addition to all the preparation work you do, on your acting craft.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I think if they don't like that, it's just, I think, like, it's just hope. Like, will they pick me on another movie? And if not, like, do you know what to do?
Hope, but you know what else it is? It's you're always waiting for somebody else to hire you, which is a terrible feeling. At least when you start becoming proactive, you become a moving force in your own career, rather than just being inert, kind of like a stick in a screen, going down the screen, waiting for the wind to blow. You have the ability to make some moves, make some stuff happen.
Yeah, you create your own opportunities yourself.
Absolutely. For me, most of the things that I star in now are projects that I'm creating. Of course, I'm still on Bold and the Beautiful, and I have some other things, but I don't wait for somebody else to say, I'm going to stick you in a movie. I'm going to go raise the money for the movie, and I'm going to produce it, and I'm going to put myself in it.
Yeah, that's absolutely true. And I do speaking for the past 3 years, and when I started, I'm like, I couldn't get anywhere to speak because, like, I was new. Who was gonna get me? So I just started hosting my own events just to practice. Yeah. And I had that 6 people came. Nobody bought anything. I lose money, but I'm like, at least I'm practicing and speaking. And all these things was leading. And I was actually speaking on the stage where you've been. I was speaking there on Sunday in Mega Success. That was the biggest stage I've ever spoke to at the moment, like 1,400 people. And I'm like thinking backwards on those past 3 years, and I'm like, all these things that I've done was preparing me for this big moment. For that. And then I delivered. I was great, and I was so happy. I had great feedback. It was great, and it's just like preparation. Yeah.
I spoke at that event and was not paid, and since that event, I have picked up 4 personal coaching clients, and nice. I am going to Dubai at the end of this month to go speak at another event because I was asked by one of the people at the event.
Dariush.
Yeah. Are you going?
No, I spoke with him by the breakfast, which is so great to have a connection like that, hosting such a big event. Yeah. Spoke with him. I don't think like I have a brand strong enough he would put me as a speaker yet, even though I'm a great speaker. But he asked me to come on the event and be there. But unfortunately, I'm doing masterminds for my clients, and is in a date of my masterminds, which people already paid money to be there. So I need to accommodate my clients first.
My point is, though, when you put yourself out there, you never know what's going to come of it. Like you said, you reached out to me, and I was happy to do it. I mean,
all these things are connecting, and I think like it's so important to think and try big, because you never know. Like they put me in here in Scotland to be the regional president for Professional Speaking Association for next year in Edinburgh. I'm like, okay, I'll do it. It's for free. I don't get paid, but I'm like, I'll organize the events, no problem. And then I met another guy who is from USA. He's a great speaker. He came to a big conference, which was once a year in here. And then I made a connection with like, hey, would you come to Edinburgh to speak? And I know you are a big golfer. I'll take you for golfing to Scotland. And he's like, I'll come. And after I said to the other guys, I'm like, you got Larry to come from USA to Edinburgh to speak next year?
I want to come to Edinburgh.
Yeah, you can come to Edinburgh. You are more than welcome.
That would be amazing.
Yeah, and that'll be amazing. And the thing is, like one of the things that I'm also learning from JT, it's branding, right? But this is what you were doing there. You were obviously getting that interview, and then obviously that helps with we to have a photos with you, and now it's all helping, like for that branding. And one of the things also I do, I mentioned the masterminds. I'll do them around Europe at the moment for the next year, and then I'll see. But also, Larry mentioned like, hey, I'll come to your mastermind. I'm like, yeah. Let's get branded, people with you, I'll get you some money. And then he's excited. I'm like, yeah, it's just putting these people together. So, yeah.
I think if you keep doing what you love and expanding your network of people and put the work in, the money will come.
Yeah.
The money will come. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
And I'm a huge proponent of, if you want results, ignore them. Focus on the process. And part of the process of growing a brand is sometimes you have to put the brand out there for free to expose people to it and not worry about making the money, and know that that's part of the process. And if you keep doing the process, you're going to get the results that you want. Not that money is necessarily the end all result, but
I do it all the time. I spoke in Ireland. I went there. I spoke for that guy for a third event. It's for free. And then the guy signed up to come for my mastermind, right? Because he's seen experienced me to speak, and I made a good impression for him. Then another time, same event, different year, the guy is investing in my deals, property deal, business deals, and we are business partners, right? And he also coming for the mastermind. So it's about that. A lot of people, they don't see, they think like they need to, like you mentioned at the beginning, they need to trade that time for money. And that's not how it is. And I really like, there's this 2 hours recording of Jim Rohn from 40 something years ago. And then he was all like, seeing like the first thing on the marketplace, you need to understand that it's not the time, it's the value you bring, right? But they don't teach us this in school. They don't teach us it in school. And today I had here guys, and I'm doing a training for M&As, for mergers and acquisitions, to find out some businesses in here in Scotland. And then I told him, this is the price, you're going to have 3 hours training. And he's like, oh, only 3 hours for this money. I'm like, yeah, that's all you need, 3 hours. I was like, but the last training was longer. I was like, yeah, it was a different training. This, because you've already done some training with me. I'm like, yeah, but this is it. Like, I'm like, it's not about the time, how much time you spend with it. It's about what you're going to learn in those 3 hours. I'm going to give you a lot of value in 3 hours. And he's like, okay, I get it. I'm like, okay, good. So it's just changing this thinking of it's a value, right?
Yeah, and you can't be afraid to ask for what you think you're worth. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
You don't get, what is it? You get what you negotiate.
Yeah.
And it becomes a question of, your time becomes worth a certain amount of money. And I wish I could give my time to everybody, but I can't. And so when I do give my time, get well compensated for it, because also it allows me to do things like I'm doing right now with you, because I choose to do it. And you can't be afraid to let people know this is what it is, and if you want to be a part of it, you got to take a jump.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I'm counting with you. You are coming to school. Are you playing golf?
I don't. I'm terrible. I'm truly one of the worst golfers ever. And you want to talk about controlling your emotions? That's about the quickest way for me to not control my emotions, is to get out there on the golf course. Like I would go out with a bunch of guys that aren't good golfers to go have fun, but I can't be out there with good golfers. I'd make them insane.
Yeah, it's fine. I mean, I played a few times. I would like not play as much, but Scotland is a great place to play. So
St. Andrews.
Yeah, St. Andrews is very popular, obviously, for people. It's very hard to get there, to be honest, because it's super booked.
Sure.
But there is a lot of other places which people don't really know about this as much. It's not that's popular, but they are super nice. You play a free path over the cliff, and you need to go really high. It's great places. And I know you said like we'll wrap it up shortly because we already have an hour. But like you said, you exercise a lot. Do you also still do some karate or anything like sport like that? Or
no, I work out a couple times a week. I still keep up with my martial arts.
Nice.
I think it's important to just keep doing something. You know what I mean? You gotta when you hit like 50, you have a choice. You can go to the left or you can go to the right. And if you don't keep doing something, I think it's a sort of a steady decline. And I think if you do something, you can stay physically active and vibrant into your 70s and maybe even your 80s. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I mean, I take good care of myself. I take a lot of supplements. I eat clean. I don't drink. I always joke. For the first 50 years of my life, I treated my body like a brothel. And so for the second 50, I'm going to try and treat it like a temple.
Absolutely. Yeah. And that's so important because body and mind is connected. So stronger body, stronger mind. It's super powerful. Okay. So when you come to Scotland, my business partner, Lewis, he's done more karate than me. He had the black belt. I think I'll put you in a fight. You're going to kick his ass. Finally, someone.
No about that.
He's young. He's short. You'll just start kicking like Jean-Claude Van Damme, kicking from and nobody can ever reach him. Something like that. Okay. Good. So yeah, I mean, thank you very much, Sean, for the amazing interview. I really enjoyed it. I'll ask you a last question, if I can.
Sure.
If someone is feeling down, is in a difficult situation in their life, maybe in a business, doesn't matter, what do you think will be one thing which they should do to help them to overcome it? Is there something which you would recommend, maybe which help you to overcome some challenging time?
It makes me think of that quote by Winston Churchill. If you're going through hell, keep going. I mean, sometimes when things are difficult, you just have to accept that you're in a difficult time and you're going to keep moving forward. And I firmly believe when you stay in motion, things generally get better. Things do not stay the same forever. Unfortunately, sometimes they don't stay good forever either. But, taking action is almost always a good plan. Not taking wild risks, but taking educated jumps and leaps of faith and staying in action, and realizing that, it can't rain forever. You know what I mean? It might be a tough time at the moment, but just keep doing what you need to do the next right thing.
Yeah, I definitely agree. I think like we are all living in the seasons, and sometimes it's a winter. Like now, it's economic winter. It's gonna get better, and it's about accepting as it is, and just like you're gonna get stronger in the winter time. But when it's tough, you're gonna get stronger, and if you overcome it, then you're gonna be flying when spring will come.
I think the other thing is like go with the flow of the universe, and by that, sometimes there's a difference between when you're facing challenges and working through them. But there are other times when, the universe is just kind of trying to push you for your own good in another direction. And if you just keep fighting it, you spin your wheels. But if you say, okay, I'm not getting any traction right here, but I'm getting traction over here. Like, it's kind of like, I write, I produce, I act. Sometimes maybe the writing, not so much going on with that. I put my attention in the acting and the producing, and then the writing comes around. You know what I mean? I go where the energy is.
Yes. Yeah. Absolutely. It totally makes total sense. I've just done the same in business. I try to push in one. I have 5 businesses. I push in one, and sometimes I'm pushing, nothing's happening. I'm like, let's put the attention a little bit in here, and suddenly this business, I'm like, okay, I'll get back to you.
So, I mean, when you push too hard, it's a form of attachment. You're trying to hold on to something. The tighter you hold on to something, the more it wants to go away. And so, the idea of trying not to have attachment to results, and again, just staying in the process, whether you're building a business or a relationship or anything. As I've gotten older, I've found that I'm more successful with the endeavors that I don't try and use my force of will and just muscle. The ones that I'm just, you know what I mean? I go with the flow sort of thing.
Absolutely. Yeah. Great. Perfect. Thank you very much for this amazing advice.
My pleasure, my friend. And I hope I see you in Scotland sometime and you have my information. So don't be a stranger, okay?